could tell me how familiar you were with Pantone before you started the film, and then why you decided you wanted to make it.
I'm going to do that, but I'm first going to ask, is Jeannie Furstenberg here today? Did I hear that she's here? But maybe she's not. Jeannie was the president of AFI when I was a student there. I know Bob Ghazali was here earlier. Susan Ruskin is in the back. I just want to thank you for keeping AFI alive and keeping it going, because it's not easy to do what you do. And I'm a proud AFI alum, and it's really part of what makes today so special. So thank you, Susan. Also, are Bob and Jeannie Bernie here? Our friends at Picture House who are taking this film out to the whole wide world, thank you to both of you for coming on board. I mean, I knew a little bit about it. My roommate, when I was at AFI, had a Pantone book sitting on his desk. I was like, what's that, Todd? And he's like, this is a Pantone book. This is how you figure out what colors you want to use. And so I kind of knew it. But then, you know, a mutual friend of mine invited me to go meet with Larry. And I went down to Florida. Larry wanted to tell his story. And he had gathered up the money to make it, and he wanted someone to tell the story. And so I thought, okay, well, this is kind of interesting, because I'd never really made a documentary where it was the subject that wanted to make the movie. And I was a little conflicted, to be honest with you. And so I went down there, and I brought with me a book called Steve Jobs. And it was written by Walter Isaacson. He used to be the editor-in-chief of Time magazine. He's an amazing writer. And Steve Jobs hired him to write that book. And Walter said, I'll only do it if you let me write the story that I want to tell. And that's what I told Larry. I said, I'll do this, but it's my movie, and I have final cut. And he looked at me and goes, you're hired. I gave it a lot of thought, because I didn't want there to be a strange conflict of interest. But at the end of the day, if I find a story that I find interesting and I have final cut, where the money comes from really doesn't matter to me. It's money, and it's gasoline in the tank. That's it. I don't care where that comes from. And when we make all of our movies, we do it that way. My wife, Christine O'Malley, produced a movie about Taylor Swift a few years ago. It was a movie called Miss Americana. I don't know if any of you have seen that movie. There was a very similar conversation that took place with Christine and Taylor. And Netflix did that movie. So I think that at the end of the day, the only way I can go out and say that something is a documentary film is if I have final cut. If I don't have final cut, then it's something else. It's not a documentary. It's really important to me. So I don't know if that was exactly the question. I hope I didn't get too off track. But that is kind of how this came to be. And if you notice, we put that right up front. It's right at the beginning of the movie. I wish it didn't cost so much. And then I'm like, why do you want to do this? You know, but I wanted to be transparent about how the movie came to be.
Thank you. And going back to your first film, you have told a lot of biography stories, documentaries about people. What is it that interests you so much about telling stories about specific individuals with specific interests? I mean, our first movie was a movie called WORDPLAY, which was about, thank you. We have some crossword puzzle fans here. That was about Will Shortz and the New York Times crossword puzzle. That movie is almost 20 years old now, which is kind of hard to believe. I mean, I love individuals who blaze their own trail, you know, and I particularly like things that sound like they'd be really bad ideas. I mean, making a movie about crossword puzzles, a lot of people tried to talk us out of that. They're like, that's a bad idea. This movie's gonna be terrible. I was like, no, it's not. It's not gonna be terrible. It's a movie about a guy who has a passion. You know, and the funny thing about it is I thought a lot about Will Shortz when we were making this, because Will's whole world as crossword puzzle editor of the New York Times,
his whole world really boils down to 26 letters and moving them around on a piece of paper. And you know, Larry's world is sort of odd and weird in the same way. Like, who would even come up with an idea to do this? And that's where it's like, oh, that sounds fun. Like, that'd be fun to explore. By the way, there is one other person. Is Lawrence Herbert here? Yeah. Yay, Lauren. Lawrence Herbert, Larry's younger son, is here. And Lauren, thank you for helping me every step of the way with this, because your support meant a lot to me.
Maybe going off of that, how is it working with the family's archive of personal materials, but also the archival material of all the incredible prints and colors that we saw?
I mean, really fun. Larry gave me a box of stuff, actually 4 boxes of stuff, and we looked through all that. But we have an archive producer named Adam Lawrence. He's based in Cincinnati, and he's made I think this is our 5th movie that we've made together. And Adam's amazing because he's really, really, really meticulous about things, but he's also the nicest person in the whole world. So he's literally the guy who will go get in his car and drive 3 hours and help someone sift through boxes in their attic to go find stuff. And he's really good at it, and he's a great storyteller. And so working with Adam was really, it's, you know, and working with my whole team, which is Christine and our editors, William Neal and Julia Zaramba. Jess Hutchison did the graphics. Kene Lowry did all the animation of the young Larry's young life, let's say. Jeremy Grody. There's just a whole bunch of people. Alex Mansour did the score. But Adam in particular has a really nice way with people. Because, you know, at the end of the day, the most valuable thing you have are your photo albums. That's it. You know, the picture of that guy, or, you know, there's my grandpa, or, you know, audio tapes of a birthday party or whatever. So when you start a project like this, you have to have trust with me and my team to give us all their stuff. And so Adam is particularly good at that. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, the opening and the closing of the film, he's in a movie theater kind of watching back the story of his life. So I was wondering how you came up with that conceit.
Well, I mean, his father was a projectionist, and he loved movies. And he dreamed about living a bigger life than the life that they lived in Brooklyn. And the movies inspired him. So that it's not even, I didn't make that up. That's just what it was, you know, and that felt like, and he loves the movie Cinema Paradiso. I love the movie Cinema Paradiso. I think many of you probably love the movie Cinema Paradiso. And that felt like a nice way to get into the story, but also the thing about being in a projection booth, for those of you who have ever been in one, you know, with an old projector and a film reel, et cetera, it's all these moving parts. It's a complicated machine, and Larry has a mind that likes that kind of stuff. He likes to figure things out, and he likes to solve problems and figure out how to fix that problem, et cetera. And so in a way, it wasn't just the movies that inspired him. It was how movies are made and how they're put up on the screen. And I think you see a lot of that. Like, by the time you see him figuring out like the split fountain press and things like that, you sort of see that he's a young kid who grew up in a projection booth. And so there's some nice connections with that.
Thank you. We're going to open it up to the audience in a second, but to go off the end of the film, I have to ask you what your favorite color is.
I mean, I don't really... Well, I have a confession to make. I went to Notre Dame, and I love our football team. I've made a couple of movies about our football team. one movie called Catholics versus Convicts. It's on ESPN. It's like a 30 for 30. I would say this year we're having a good season, so I would say Shamrock Green is probably my favorite color. At least it is in the fall.
There you go. That's a good one. All right. Do we have any questions out there? Yes, right here.
Question to Pat here. This is a doc filmmaker. You know, with Will Shorts or with Catholics versus Convicts or this, do you kind of find the narrative in your research before you do the interviews, or are you finding it while you're doing the interviews, you start cracking the whole narrative of where you're going?
That's a great question. I'll repeat it for those of you who didn't hear it. But do we, do we create the narrative when we sit down to begin, or do we find the narrative as we're making it and getting to know the characters? It's really kind of the narrative, and what I mean by that is just like, what's the first scene? What's the second scene? What's the third scene? Like that, to me, that's what I mean by narrative. I assume that's what you're referring to. Is you're never in nonfiction, in documentary, you're really never done shaping the narrative, because I think it's a totally missed opportunity if a documentary filmmaker does a year's worth of homework and then sits down with their subject for the first time and thinks they have it all figured out. All you've really done is get ready to start asking questions. And we're starting a new film right now, and people keep saying, well, what's the narrative? It's like, well, I don't really know yet. I mean, I know what the story is, but I don't really know what the movie is yet. And so that's just the way I do it. I was really lucky when I was a kid. I was just starting out in Chicago. I was working for public television in Chicago, and I had a chance to work with a guy named Studs Terkel. I don't know if that name rings a bell to some of you. Just a world-class writer and a world-class journalist and documentary guy. Studs has been gone for many years now, but what Studs used to say is he always said that an interview shouldn't be an interrogation. It should be a dance. Meet your subject where they are and dance with them. I mean, there's definitely certain movies and subjects where it is an interrogation and it should be an interrogation. I'm thinking of a movie like Enron, like Alex Gibney's great movie about the scandal at Enron, and things like that, like hard-hitting journalism. Those really aren't the stories that we tell. We look for interesting characters, and their story ultimately is sort of a celebration of their life, but it's also just a celebration of life. And it's the good things that are out there. That's what we try to do. And I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, I don't feel like we're ever done shaping the story until we're done, until the movie's actually done. Certainly not when we begin. Yeah.
Do you maybe want to talk about the editing process then, in terms of that? And
you guys good on time, or do you guys have to be somewhere? I don't want to hold you up.
I think we got time. I think everyone's enjoying it.
I tend to drone on, so I'll try to keep it snappy. Well, I mean, with our editors, if you notice, for several of our recent films, our two editors, William Neal and Julia Zaramba, are also the writers of the film. And I think that's really important. I mean, they're the ones who are dealing with 100 hours of footage, of interviews and material and archive. And together, especially when you have a narration, and some of the narration that Larry talks about, or some of the narration that he says off camera, are actually things that we wrote for him. I mean, it's factual, it's based on his life, but these are like little holes in the story that we didn't quite have. And like Julia wrote all those, and William is a great writer, and so again, the editors, I don't know if they enjoy working with me or don't like working with me. I mean, they keep coming back, so I'm lucky for that. But I think we all buy into this idea that the story is it's always taking shape, and it's always evolving. There is one thing I do, which is I create a one-page document. It has 3 columns, and it has different colors. And it's a scene-by-scene flow of the film. And it evolves a little bit, but at some point I make that. And I make that, and that's what we use. It's on one sheet of paper. And we look at it, and we use it. It's like the skeleton. And then when we have to change it, we change it. If we take this scene and throw it away, that's fine too. It's kind of like a modern version of the old 3x5 colored cards that you stick up on cork boards. Yeah, that's really important, and because it gives people a sense of what we're making.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions out there? Yes, right here.
I really like how you featured like the older, like the old buildings, and you featured like the old, and then you featured cartoon, and it just felt really entertaining. It didn't
Thank you.
feel like a boring film. It felt like there were so many aspects to it.
If you,
I appreciate that.
oh, thank you. If you didn't hear, what she said was, "This is the greatest movie ever made," and she's super excited that she got to see it. No, but she was just commenting on the fact that the movie kind of, it lives in the past and it lives in the present. There's old footage and there's current day footage, and that's a tribute to Adam, who finds all these amazing things. But the thing about a documentary, I mean, I don't want to get all emotional and weepy about it, but the truth is, like, a good documentary film is like a magic carpet. You can go anywhere. You can go anywhere with a documentary. You can go back in time, you can sail into the future, you can sit here in the moment, and I love it. I mean, I love doing it. When I started, I was a huge fan. I always loved PBS, and I always loved 60 Minutes. Right when I was beginning my career, Ken Burns' movie The Civil War came out, which was a massive breakthrough. It was the sound design and using actors to play, like, to be the voice of, like, Abraham Lincoln or, General Grant. And, he brought these people back to life, and documentaries just kind of keep doing that. They just keep embracing the new tools and the new, ideas on how to do this, including animation. And it's why I think they've blown up like they have. I mean, documentaries are just really, they're in a very different place even when I started making documentaries 20 years ago. And that's part of why it's fun to do it. It's Larry's 95 years old. He's 96 years old too. It would have been a missed opportunity for that whole story to take place today. I mean, his story it started off almost 100 years ago. And it's kind of fun to kind of move through time that way. So
I think we have another
Thank
question.
you.
Yeah, right there in the middle.
Since you were talking about the post process, it got me interested. Obviously, like, this is a movie about color, and so like getting the colors in the picture right is going to be, like, even among films, like, way more important. So I was wondering, like, how intensive was the thought process going into, I guess, A, the art direction, especially for a doc, and then B, like, the post color process.
I didn't really overthink that too much, only because I think sometimes, there's a question about, like, our design of the movie or how we put it together. And I almost think, to be honest with you, I think sometimes if you get a little too literal, let's say, with a theme, it starts to be a little distracting. And so what Jess Hutchison did all the motion graphics. So, like, the split fountain press and, like, ink on paper, and then she did all those sequences with, like, the color of the year chips and things like that. And with that, she studied with my friend Brian Oakes, and Brian Oakes did all the motion graphics in WORDPLAY, which we're really, really proud of. They were really kind of ahead of its time, frankly, what he did there. But I think, to answer your question, we just kind of want to get our ideas from our subject. We just try to absorb enough of that you feel that you're living in kind of the Pantone world, but without overdoing it, I think.
Over
Yes.
here.
I would also like to compliment you.
Thank you. More compliments. I mean, they're just getting showered. It's kind of embarrassing, but go ahead. Stop. No, go ahead.
The scene when the German investor
Yeah.
pushed the money back, I felt the audience, and I
great moment of filmmaking. And, you know, I expected it to be good, interesting,
Yeah.
but that was an elevation that was just beyond.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Just a comment on that, Larry, on Elsie wanting to, I guess, try to make up for what had happened in World War II between Germans and Jewish people. And it is moving. It's yeah, thank you. But yeah, it's very emotional for me as well watching it. There's kindness there, like there's kindness and decency, and those things always work, frankly. And so, you know, that's a really good example, actually, of like, I didn't know that until Larry told me that, you know, and then when he told me, it was like, oh wow, like. That's pretty interesting. I mean, Larry, you know, the thing about Larry, and, you know, you can ask Lauren about this afterwards because he knows this much better than I do. You know, Larry's kind of hard charging, and he's tough, you know, and he's been the boss for a long time. And so he doesn't always want to show his emotion too much. I think that's fair to say. Certainly in an interview, you know, like an on-camera interview. But all these years later, it's very emotional for him to think about Elsie. And in fact, when we dedicated the movie to Elsie, that was actually my idea. I didn't, you know, I didn't ask Larry or even tell Larry. I thought that felt appropriate, and so that's why we did that. Thank you for your comment.
Yep, right there.
So I also want to compliment you.
Thank you.
Originally, I
Thank you.
wanted to ask you a question just regarding like how you develop the visual style, especially considering the fact that it's a film involving color.
Yeah.
And kind of piggybacking off of what she said down here, just, you know, incorporating like the cartoons and everything like that. But I think you've already answered enough of those questions. But I just wanted to ask you if there is a general like message or question or thought that you wanted anyone to kind of derive from this film.
Yeah, there is. Don't be afraid to, and I'll repeat the question, is just this idea of like, is there a message here, I guess, or what do I hope the takeaway is? Take chances. Don't be afraid to fail. Larry failed all the time, constantly, you know, and that's really, I think, central to being an inventor and to being an entrepreneur, and frankly, to being a craftsman or craftswoman. He's all three of those things. And so I do think that failure is an option, frankly. And if you're not failing every once in a while, you're probably playing it a little too safe. And the only other thing I would say, because there's probably some filmmakers here or other folks who do what we all do, is you know, it's hard to make a movie. It's like really hard to make a movie. But it's also tremendously satisfying to do it. And like I said, I was lucky enough to go to the American Film Institute, and I learned how to tell a good story there. But I also learned that, I mean, the one thing I want to pass on to folks who want to make a movie or are in the middle of making a movie is the best idea wins on our projects. And we don't, not all these ideas are mine that are in the movie, but, you know, as the director, I have to decide which of the movies or which are the ideas we want to pursue and which are the ones we don't. So as a director, I think you have to be in charge and you have to be the boss. At the same time, in a way, you kind of want everyone feeling like you're making the same movie. And if someone comes up with a great idea on a Tuesday and that makes you have to pivot a minute or pivot a little bit to embrace that new idea, you have to go for that. I actually learned that at AFI. I was with my friend Michael Leonard. We were making our second cycle project. I was his DP, he was the director, and he was, people were constantly giving him ideas on set. And if you've ever been on a student film set, it's a disaster. I mean, they all are. It's crazy. You don't know what you're doing. You're all tired and you're all hungry, but you're all enthusiastic. It's like it's so fun. And I asked Michael. I'll never forget this. But I asked Michael. Like I said, I was the DP on his film, and I said, you're really good about taking ideas from other people. Like you don't get defensive. You embrace these ideas. And I just think, thank you for being that way. And he looked at me and goes, I'll take a good idea from anyone. And, by doing that, you're getting the team to feel like it's their film as much as it's the director's film, which it is, obviously. So anyway, so those are my messages, or the takeaways I hope people get either from the movie or from making a movie. Thank you.
Well, I think that's a really beautiful place to end, and unfortunately, that's all the time we have.
Okay.
But I just want to
I'll
thank you
meet you
so much,
outside.
Patrick.
I'll answer your question. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so
That
much.
was really fun.